Good evening, everyone. Sunday night, we're back after the international break. It's the Celtic FC Appreciation Show Series 2. Tonight, joining me and Paul is Paul Gordon from PG and Dax Real Football Show podcast. Paul, thanks very much for coming back on, mate.
No, I'm delighted to be on, mate. Cheers for having me.
No worries. So we've got a lot to get through tonight, guys. Obviously, going way back to the the Celtic Dundee game before the international break, going into the sad news about Betty Auld, the AGM drama, obviously yesterday's game, and obviously we'll look ahead to the Leverkusen preview. So our main sponsors, 67 Tees, if you go online on the social media, get a hold of them, some great stuff, great Kyogo stuff as well. So give them a message and get them send some business their way. We are obviously live on Facebook and YouTube tonight as well, and we're available to download on any of the podcast apps, Spotify or Apple Podcasts. So obviously a lot to get through. It's been a long international break, but a successful one, guys. But just before that, obviously we when you go back to the Dundee game, seems like an eternity ago. A great win at Dens Park. 4 goals, 2 for Jota, 2 for Kyogo. PG, I'll start with you. What did you think of the game? Just going back to that one.
To be honest, I thought we started really well and it was very comfortable. Losing the 2 goals was a bit disappointing, but it was very routine for us. I'm loving Jota. I think he's incredible. We'll go to Everett McKinnon to make sure we can sign him. And then Kyogo's just being Kyogo, and it was a good win. Good. Ralston was really good that day as well. A couple of assists, and he also hit the post just before Jota got his first. So it was very routine. It was a good solid performance for us.
Yeah, and Paul, I'll go to you. Just in terms of Paul touched on Jota and the action he's had and the reaction he's had from the fans. 6.5 million is what we've been quoted as getting him from. I mean, that's in today's market, that's a bargain for any club.
Absolutely, and that deal's probably in the process of getting done. I would imagine from what I'm hearing. So I think that will be imminent and when it can happen. So. But yeah, he's just grown in confidence and he seems to be getting better and better. And, to be honest, yesterday Celtic didn't have their best game, but that first 15 minutes, he was just electrifying. Like, just high in confidence, the pace, the acceleration he's got as well. Frightening for other teams to come up against him. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was early doors. He seemed to have the run of that wing down there last night, and that Rabona flick. Was unbelievable. We're not used to seeing things like that in Scottish football, and as I say, hopefully the deal gets done and we can get the wee man, because he just looks as if he's enjoying his football here. It just looks, I mean, for a young Portuguese lad to be going up to places like Dens Park and Dingwall and places like that and really enjoying his football. I think he's loving life and he's loving linking up with another player who's obviously impressed us in such a short spell already is Kyogo. Absolutely immense again. And when you look at the Dundee game, two goals. The first one, obviously a header. He peels away for 4 defenders. And I'll just throw it over to you, PG. In terms of his movement in the box, I suppose his movement outside the box. Is that what Celtic's been missing? Probably in the last couple of years.
I would say so. We've not really had that type of striker in quite some time, to be honest. I mean, I think he does miss quite a few chances, but the amount of chances he makes are unbelievable. And it's always easier for a striker in the sense where you're going to go. The defender has to try and anticipate where you're going to go. But it's the way he just hodges his run and then bang straight across players. He's unbelievable at it. He's been some signing for £4.5 million or whatever it was. It's just been ridiculous.
Yeah, and obviously, as I say, his second goal was sublime as well. But it's that link up, Paul, with Jota that it seems to have. I know Abada's in there as well. And they front three, if we can keep them fit, surely we're going to be on to success. We're already in a cup final. Obviously, Hibs are joining us now after the result today. So, if you can keep the front three fit, then surely that's going to spell success for Celtic.
Yeah, they seem to have formed definitely an understanding in terms of how they want to play going forward. And if you look at those three forward men just now, they think they've only been together for a few months, 4 or 5 months, maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more. It's quite incredible in terms of how they're playing together. And I think that's naturally going to get better. I think it was good to see Forrest yesterday, obviously getting his goal, but coming on. That will push Abada on. Abada will push Forrest on. I think that right-hand side's there for the taking. And Forrest is one of my particular favourites in recent years. So I think he'll definitely play a part in that. And hopefully he's got the same understanding that those three seem to have as well. But dangerous for any team.
Yeah, I think as well, when we look at, we need to talk about Tony Ralston. Obviously got his first cap for Scotland briefly in Monday against Denmark. He's been unplayable lately. And PG, if when you look at it, I mean, I think it was a hat-trick of assists in the Dundee game. Do you know what I mean? And especially the Jota's, I think it was Jota's second goal, when he just shoved Charlie Adam in his backside. I mean, that was that was something else, and the cross and the touch for Jota. How surprised have you been from Ralston?
Massively. I mean, like everybody was a bit raging at the start of the season when we were thinking, oh, well, Ralston's all we've got, we're going to have to depend on Ralston. He's like a different player now. He's been absolutely brilliant. Like you said, the Dundee game, I thought he was particularly the quality of deliveries has been excellent. You've also got the fact that he's chipping in the goals and he's getting forward. Even like yesterday, had that bit of a wild shot with his left foot, but he's been getting quite close with shots like that, like the one he hit the post against Dundee. I've been really, really impressed with him. I mean, it's at the stage now, I know we don't have anybody else to play on the left, but if Taylor was fit, I'd still be going with Juranovic on the left just to keep Ralston in the team because he deserves it. And getting the cap for Scotland, I was absolutely delighted the other night. Just seeing him coming on, he's definitely earned that. I mean, I thought Stephen O'Donnell was good, even though I think Ralston's better. I thought O'Donnell was good against Denmark, but it was just brilliant to see Ralston get that kind of bit of recognition he deserves.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, he came on obviously the last couple of minutes, he tidied things up, done what he had to do. I thought, I did think O'Donnell would play ahead of him in Monday night, but I think either or, I think would have been a great decision by Stevie Clarke, and I think he will play more for Scotland now in the coming months and years to come. But Ralston for me has always been I've never rated him good enough to play for Celtic, and even probably halfway into the season almost, there's still kind of doubts about him, even though he keeps proving us wrong every single game. Callum McAlpine says, I think Ralston's time out on loan has helped him heaps. Possibly, yeah. I think what's really improved in Ralston's game is that I think early on in the start of the season, it was just getting to the byline and firing the ball in 100 mile an hour and not really aiming for anybody. And I've seen more recently that he's just taking that wee bit of time and that wee bit of approach in his game just to find players in the box, to find like Kyogo, to find Jota, and that's obviously going to be good for Celtic. But just obviously it was disappointing, I suppose, guys, to lose 2 goals to Dundee. The first one with Mullen, it's a deflected cross into the box and he gets the header away. The second one, I'm more disappointed with Joe Hart kind of coming into no man's land. But again, Joe Hart has really been a breath of fresh air to the team. And, without him, I dread to think where we would have been.
I think, see, to be honest, you're talking about Joe Hart. I mean, yesterday had a couple of scary moments as well. He's seen that at Man City, and even when he was in Torino, you heard reports that he's prone to a mistake, but he has been excellent for us. And I don't even think it's just his own field performances. I think it's like you've seen stuff like getting spoken about players are talking about how good he is in the dressing room and how great he is for younger players. I've absolutely loved having him. I think he's been one of the best signings this year. He's been so influential, but as long as he's making no mistakes when you're 3-1 up or 4-1 up or whatever, then you can overlook it.
Yeah, and Paul, just on the goals that we're still seem to be leaking. I know we kept a clean sheet yesterday, but is this something that the defence needs to eradicate, or was it just a case of switching off, being so far in front?
I think it's just the way Ange plays at times. It's very positive, it's very attacking, it's very on the front foot, and I think sometimes we get caught out. I think our defence is much better than it used to be, and I think that will continue to develop. But I think Ange has come in and really wanted to be on the front foot in games and take hold of games and go forward. And I think that was the priority. But you can see the difference in the defence now. Maybe that's down to some of the recruitment, of course. But, they're getting, used to playing alongside each other week in, week out. And I think it will only get better. It does scare me sometimes. And Joe Hart scared me a few times when he first came in. He looked very hesitant on the ball and where he should put it. And I don't see so much of that, but he does have the odd mistake in him. But as long as we're scoring more than we're conceding, I don't really mind. But it's disappointing to lose silly goals when we don't have to. But I think you'll see that develop. I think the focus has been very much going forward and keeping the possession and being aggressive in terms of attacking and getting the goals. But I think the defensive side of our play is definitely improving, and not there yet.
Yeah. just on that, just any questions or comments you guys have, anybody watching on Facebook or YouTube, about any subjects we're talking about, or just anything in Celtic general, any questions or comments, fire them into us and we'll get through them. We'll get on now, guys, to obviously sad news. A week tonight that we lost the great Bertie Auld, 83 years of age, the boy from Maryhill, 2 spells at the club, 283 goals, 85 goals. 5 league titles, 4 league cups, 3 Scottish cups, 2 European Cup finals, and a European Cup winners medal. It's not a bad CV, is it, PG?
No, it's ridiculous. I was very fortunate in a sense that Bertie Auld managed me for a game once. When Tommy Burns died, I played for Maryhill Juniors, and we did a Maryhill against the Celtic Legends type thing. And Bertie Auld was your manager that day. I mean, he didn't give as much. He told a couple of jokes in the dressing room and then left. But no, it was really sad. Every time you seen him on the telly or heard stories, his patter was unbelievable. There's a couple of ones that stick out for me in particular. The one who's in the tunnel before the Celtic Rangers game, and John Gregg says to him, "How much is your win bonus today, wee man?" He's like, £3. John Gregg says, "We're on 6." And the difference is we're guaranteed the £3. I love that. I think probably my favourite one film is I think my old man telling me about this because I was quite young when Rangers won 9 in a row. But he was getting interviewed and it was like, "Oh, do you think your 9 in a row team would have beaten Rangers 9 in a row team?" And he went, "Oh, I'll be honest, it'd be really tight. We'd maybe nick it by a goal." He says, "But we are on our 50s now, so it's not really fair." So
yeah,
he's part of it, and it was good.
He's fun enough, as you mentioned. I had the pleasure of having him in the dressing room as well for one game. I think I'd played in it was a charity game. I think we played in years ago, and he was the manager, and we were in the home dressing room. And as you say, just not even the stories that he was telling us or the part that was coming away with. It was just that, just having him there, just to listen to him. In terms of, I think what was great about Betty was that no matter how many times you met him, whether you met him once, you met him 100 times, he always made you feel like he was your best pal. It would always be like, "All right, son, how you doing?" Or, "All right, hen, blah, blah." It would always make you feel that kind of warmth and make you feel that closeness. I mean, Paul, did you ever get to meet Betty?
Yeah, I did actually. So I'm a coach for a football team. So we go to Celtic Park in May. Not the last 2 years, obviously due to COVID, for a kind of awards presentation. And we didn't expect him. He wasn't planned to be there, but he turned up for the kids. And yeah, it was kind of weird feeling because I felt like I was a wee bit shy because I was like, "Oh my God, there's this." it's very old, you know what I mean? So, but he was totally cool. Like, he was coming over, talking to the kids, you know, he was like, can you take the ball past me, you know, and just so friendly, and not what you would expect from, like, if you imagine nowadays a celebrity, like, or even some of the footballers will keep the distance. He was involved, he was getting in there, and he didn't have to be there. He was just heard it was on. He was in the stadium, and he came in, because he says the kids are the future, you know. So it was a good day. I shook his hand and had a couple of words with him, but nothing major. But it was just, he lit up the room, you know, and it was a big surprise for the kids, who they all knew who he was, you know, obviously, even though they were so young, because all their families, their dads or whatever, have obviously told them about Lesbians Lions. So it was that sense of awe almost, but he took that away, and he was just such a normal person, funny guy, and got involved. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I think I went on record during the week in saying that my only regret was that I didn't do this podcast, you know, sooner, because I would have loved to have got him on. I've already had players like Jackie McNamara and Tom Boyd and Darren Jackson on, and, you know, you speak to them for ages and you learn so much from them. But I mean, I could have probably spoke to Betty all night, chatting, but obviously when he got diagnosed, it would have just been a bit kind of, I don't mean a bit tasteless, but a bit intrusive, I think, if we'd tried to set something like that up. I mean, it probably would have been well up for it, and would have loved to have talked Celtic, but, you know, such is life. But no, as I say, if anybody's got any stories about Betty Hill, any comments that, you know, if you've met him before, I was up at Celtic Park at the start of the weekend, you know, the tributes were already pouring in. As I say, I think one of the stories I heard was that he was signing autographs for these fans, and he says to this wee boy, he says, "Would you want signed, son?" And he says, "Oh, no, sorry, I'm a Rangers fan." He says, "It's all right, I'll no date joined up writing." So I thought it was quite good. Yeah, so it's such a loss, I think, for the club, but also just for the fans in terms of, you know, I know when. Betty was always my favourite lesbian line. I know people love Caesar and all the rest of it, but I think when I seen Betty at Billy McNeil's funeral, he just looked as if something had been taken from him. You know, something, that wee part of his personality, that wee zip that he normally has. It just looked as if he was starting to kind of let go at that point, Jane. And I mean, obviously that was a few years ago now, but as I say, it's so sad, and we've lost one of the greats. And obviously his funeral, for anybody that's wanting to attend or want to go to Celtic Park, I know the cortege is going to pass through Celtic Park on Friday round about 1:30 in the afternoon. So for anybody that's wanting to go up and pay their last respects, definitely get up there. So as I say, obviously, we go into the AGM drama now during the week, guys. And PG, I'll start with you. What I would say is the only two to be applauded from the AGM was Ange Postecoglou and Fran Alonso. The only two to receive warm applause. Dermot Desmond and his son Ross were absent. Kind of drew sarcastic reactions for the crowds. What did you think that came out of the AGM? Were you surprised by anything that was kind of said?
Not overly surprised. I think that it shows the disconnect between the fans and the board. I mean, like, I think Bankier, for everything I've seen, was quite surprised that it was almost unanimously voted against him to take his position again. And he seems to have an issue with reading the room. He's kind of, apparently was really jokey and stuff at first, and then he's kind of started making comments, and for some reason talking about Conor Hazard being a high point for last season, and that it was a bit strange. But I think it shows the disconnect between the fans and the board, and it's good that the fans, I think you've got the Celtic shared and stuff. They're all trying to make a lot of a deal about the fans being more involved. So I think that stuff's quite good in covering it. But I don't know. I don't overly look into these things too much because the board will just do what the board are going to do. But hopefully, the kind of Celtic shared and other fan groups will put a bit of pressure on them.
Yeah, and obviously Paul, talking about Ian Bankier, he seemed to blame everybody but himself or the club. He blamed bad luck, he blamed injuries, he blamed COVID, even had a pop at Nicola Sturgeon. Do you think it's covering their own backside by blaming everybody else?
I think he's in a way, he's kind of valid in terms of my opinion, and not to that extent, but certainly, yeah, I think things didn't go our way. I think at times we could have been treated a wee bit better, but we need to stand up and take responsibility for ourselves, and it felt like it was a wee bit kind of like, rather than putting the blame on the board, let's brush off a little bit so there's less pressure. And that's what it felt like, to be honest. It didn't feel like, you know what, guys, we messed up. We didn't do this or we did that. There was no real ownership. It just felt like he was trying to brush away some of the responsibility. And I'm never surprised with the board, to be honest. It's just I have such a low expectation sometimes of the board for a long time now, throughout last season into this. It's just... it gets me upset when I start talking about it. So,
I think you're bang on with what you say in terms of, I think if Bankier had came out to the AGM and said to the guys, right, listen, last season went tits up. We should have done this, we should have done that. Some of it was out with our control, and just being honest with the fans, and that's what the fans want, because. I mean, I think it was one person says to Ange, he was told, "Thanks for giving us our team back." I think that speaks volumes of how the fans are feeling. I know Bankier said the club were astonishingly treated by the Scottish Government, the only employers in Scotland to be given sanctions for an employee breaching rules. They tried to put a positive spin on it this year, saying that the team were doing well and we'd got back on track. Strangely though, PG, there was no mention of Dominic Mackay, although Ian Bankier did thank Peter Lowell for his service to the club.
I noticed that there was no mention of Dom Mackay and no mention of Neil Lennon either, who left the club but somehow managed to get 600 grand off us. So it was definitely pushed, which everybody knows. But I think the fans would have deserved to find out what happened with Dom Mackay, because it was a big appointment at the time. And it's like you said there, see if they just came in and went, "Oh, look, hands up, we've not done well enough," or whatever. I think people would respect that a bit more and say, "Look, don't treat us like idiots."
Yeah.
We know you've not done a great job, but see if you can come out and say, "Look, we could have done better with this and that." You say, "Right, fair enough, even though we're still not happy, we still maybe want you to go. We can appreciate that." But it didn't hold much weight for me, some of the stuff that Bankier said, to be honest, and I'm just a bit like Colin, just a bit fed up with it all.
No, I think obviously I'm not a season ticket holder. I try and get to the games as much as I can. The Bernard Higgins appointment, or possible appointment, as senior security role, Bankier didn't promise, he didn't give any assurances that they wouldn't hire Higgins. For me, this isn't something I'm well adverse to, kind of thing. I don't really know. A lot of the fans will know, and they'll have more of an opinion. I don't know if you guys have an opinion, but Paul, just start with you. Obviously it was booed by the room over it. Do you think Celtic will just go ahead and steamroller any fans' protest about it and just say we're going to do what we want in January?
Yep, that's exactly what they'll do. They dig their heels in all the time, to be honest. You never see change. I think it's actually, I've been on plenty of times about disrespecting the fans. And I think currently, with Dom Mackay actually taking a new role, it feels a wee bit kind of dishonest from the board. Like, I don't believe that he left for personal reasons. I don't believe Neil Lennon resigned, and there's money being paid out to him. And it's just really frustrating. Like I say, I get very upset talking about the board because I feel they don't listen enough to the fans, and they dig their heels in about certain stuff. And I also believe they don't stick up for the club enough in terms of the SFA, in terms of UEFA, in terms of other teams, other clubs. I think there needs to be a wee bit kind of stronger leadership there for me that's willing to stand up and admit when they're wrong, stand up and say, that's not on, and have a principle about them and a bit of leadership. And I think that's what we're missing, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if there'll be much changes in the board. I know it went to an election poll. They wanted to vote Bankier out. They wanted to get rid of. They wanted to kind of re-elect somebody to replace Dermot Desmond. But I think overall, they came to some sort of agreement that they would refresh the board and get new guys in. So, I mean, I don't know if changes will come in January, but we'll obviously see about that. Let's get on to last night. We're back in a cup final, guys. It was a tight game. St Johnstone came and certainly Joe Hart had a couple of hairy moments in the first half and then near the end, but I don't really think he was tested. Paul, what was your opinions on the game last night?
I think it was a relatively, if you're looking at it overall, it was a bit of a hard watch, to be honest, if I'm being frank. I was really excited the first kind of 15 minutes or so. It was quite fast, very pacey. I thought, Turnbull put that in. I think it could have been a cricket score yesterday. It could have been a lot of goals. So sometimes, that doesn't happen for you. And I think the longer the game went on, we felt a wee bit frustrated. And Jamesy comes on, pretty much one of the first things he does is put the ball in the net. But, he uses experience to get in the right positions, because it's all good and well saying that it's a few yards off the goal. But he was in the right place at the right time, and that's him using his experience for that. So, and you always knew it was going to be close. It was tough. It was tough against St Johnstone in the league. They work really hard, and their defence and their defensive work is really good sometimes, and can frustrate teams. And that's what they did again yesterday. But we managed to get the breakthrough. And that's sometimes in those kind of games, that's what you need. You need your experienced players to step up and take the chance, and that's what we did. We're in the final. That's all that matters.
Well, I mean that is all that matters, and obviously we can enjoy a sea of green and white at Hampden in the 19th of December. Thankfully, we Hibs result today, but PG, you look at. Obviously, St Johnstone did have a couple of chances. I thought it was a really dominant performance despite the scoreline. By Celtic, I thought Jota really started well, but I felt we let St Johnstone just kind of settle into the game, get their feet in the ball. But I didn't really feel as if we were in any danger. Even at 1-0, I thought last 10 minutes was worrying. Obviously, But I didn't ever think they were going to score. I don't know about you.
No, I felt the same, to be honest. It's like you both said, Jota, the first 15 minutes was brilliant. I mean, the Weirabona, he's so good at getting by, man. Even before his goal, see how he took the ball down under a bit of pressure and then just drives, he just goes. And then decent delivery into the ball, into the box, and then Forrest does what he does. I mean, we had missed him big time. But now you're getting, like you said, when you're talking about the Dundee game, with a good partnership with Abada, Kyogo and Jota. But now you're in a position where Forrest is fit again, Mikey Johnson's fit again. You've got options now. It's like you're looking at the bench last night and you're saying that's a bit more like what we're looking for. And I still think we're 3 or 4 good quality bodies light, but we're looking a lot stronger. And I didn't really feel at any point St Johnstone were going to score. I mean, there are a couple of long range efforts by Bryson and Kane that were decent strikes, but you're 20, 25 yards out. They never really, apart from Joe Hart's one where he's let it run across his body and he's kicked it off, I think it was O'Halloran. Other than that, there was not one moment where you went, if we could have lost a goal there. So I think that was a performance that was needed. I know it's not a league, but that's a league winning performance, that kind of thing, where it's chips are a wee bit down, you're not playing brilliant, but you manage to go and see a result in another clean sheet. I think that's something like 6 or 7 of the last 12 of the clean sheets. Defensively will be a lot more sound.
I mean, I wouldn't call it winning ugly, but as you say, it's one of the performances you need to dig in. I think everybody kind of forgot last night as well that St Johnstone are unbeaten at Hampden. They're the cup holders. So it was always going to be a tough game. For me, I know a lot was made about the referee before the game. Nick Walsh was appointed, and I think the typical reaction from Celtic fans is some like him and some don't, and people will have opinions on the referee and start talking about it 3-4 days before the game's a ball's even kicked. For me, probably apart from one decision, I think Nick Walsh had a decent game. I don't think there was any big decisions apart from, obviously, I think it was Sean Rooney's elbow and Stephen Welsh. I mean, looking at it first time, I thought he's probably let it go in terms of a red card because we just scored. He's went down. He's probably thought, try to waste a bit of time. And I think because there was a few elbows flying about, there was a few kind of shoves off the ball, especially with Jota and I think it was Chris Kane out wide. So I don't think he had a bad performance, Nick Walsh. But as I say, at the same time, that's probably the one kind of flashpoint that I would say it really got wrong. But looking at it, I don't think it's it's an out and out red card. He's went up and he's not extended the elbow too much, kind of thing.
He's not really looked at him either, which for me would make you think. I mean, he is the type of player that he likes to rough it up, but I don't think he's probably really went to hurt him. Something I'd say about the two referees for this weekend, I think there'll not be many, but both of them have sent me off. So I think I'm going to select few of both League Cup semi-final referees have sent them off. So that's my wee claim to fame.
But and Paul, I mean, in terms of where we can go now, obviously 19th of December, look forward to a League Cup final again after having a year out. Hibs are famous for choking when they get to this stage in a competition. They brought 6,000 fans to Hampden today, which was really, really surprising, I thought, although they made it sound like 60,000 at the end of the game. Do you think there's if for talking's sake, Hibs turn around and say, we want the allocation, full allocation, whether it's 15 or 20,000, do you think that they're kind of Celtic within their rights to go, well, you only took 6,000 to semi-final, so...
Probably. But I'd like to think Celtic are the bigger team and would say, okay, take that. And if you don't sell it, we get the rest. So, or some sort of arrangement from there. But yeah, I'll think Hibs will get their full allocation, but I don't think they'll sell it out, to be honest. And buzzing for that day. Hibs will be a different prospect from St Johnstone going forward. They're very dangerous. I think much more dangerous than St Johnstone would be. And there's some big defenders in that Hibs team that done fantastically well today in the game. And without them, they would have lost that probably. So yeah, it will be a different ask. We seem to do well against Hibs. So I'm positive about that. I'm positive we can break any team in the country down. So I'm looking forward to the 19th. But I think the majority of that stadium will be Celtic fans. So.
Yeah, well, as I say, the good thing is it's the whole stadium will be green and white. So, and the fact that the Rangers fans will need to sit in the house and just grin and bear it again. So I know Chris Sutton was on Twitter tonight saying really comfortable win for Hibs, no treble yet again for Rangers. But in terms of just looking ahead then to we go back into Europe and Thursday, early kick-off against Bayer Leverkusen. A possible crunch game, I suppose you could say, guys. If we win on Thursday, we set it up for the final group game at Celtic Park. PG, do you think we can go to Leverkusen and get a result?
I've had this daft feeling that we're going to beat them. I mean, I don't know if it's just being naive, but I do feel like see if they beat us, it's not going to be a surprise. They're a Champions League team in the Europa League. They're a crank side. I think 4-0 was a wee bit false at Parkhead. I was at that game. We probably should have been 2 up before they scored the first, but they were granted they deserved the win. But I don't know why. I feel like this isn't the same Celtic team anymore. When we go away in Europe, you still think we're going to score goals now. Before, you'd be like, shut up, try your best not to made an arse like you always do, but I just got a wee bit different about this team now. I feel that the mindset's different. We probably will lose, but I've just got some wee inkling that we could get something out of them. But we're still going to be in Europe after Christmas anyway, so maybe not a competition that we want to be in, but I think it's extra money, and I think it's just good for the club to be in Europe.
Yeah, I think in terms of you mentioned, obviously we're going to be in Europe after Christmas anyway, and Paul, I mean, for me personally, I think the wheels come off a wee bit on Thursday. I don't see his turning Leverkusen over, unfortunately. And as PG says, we're it's not a case now of we're going away and taking down sometimes because we are scoring a few goals. The problem is we're conceding more than we're scoring, as shown in Betis kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like split between both of you, to be honest. I'm thinking we need to go into that with, there's nothing to lose. Listen, we're expected to lose that game. Go in and go for the game and go be on the front foot if you can. I think the most important part, other than the defence, is taking any chances that we get. Because the last Leverkusen game, missed a couple of chances. That would have been a different game. If we got them in, and I think that'll spur us on if we can get a goal. But listen, it'll be a tough night. They're a good team. You should go in with no pressure, and we should go on the front foot and try and be as solid as at the back as we can, and we see what the result is. I'm confident we can score over there. I'm just not as confident in the back. If we can deal with that kind of extra level of quality than we're used to. So it's a big game, don't get me wrong. I don't expect us to win it, but, if I was Ange, I'd be telling them, look, guys, no pressure. Nobody's expecting us to go and beat this team. Go out and play your football. Play the way you want to play. Play the Celtic way and go on. And if you can get a result, absolute bonus. If we lose, which is very possible, we're a good team. As long as we lose, maybe a 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. Let's not concede a lot of goals. Let's
not do what we do against Sparta Prague last year and take an absolute down home and away. And I think that's the massive improvement that we've seen already. That we're entertaining even when we're losing, because obviously we got another fine from UEFA during the week, £12,500 for the Ferencváros game. The countdown conundrum banner, which I thought was absolutely class. I thought it was really, really clever. For me, listen, a lot's been said about Green Brigade and some of the banners that they come up with, especially in European games. But for me, I think, why were we playing at 3:30 a Tuesday afternoon? I know we won the game and I know the fans turned up, but the fans shouldn't need to turn up on a Tuesday at 3:30. So, listen, I don't know if it's a case that Celtic have just rolled over and allowed it to happen, but I think more of a fight should have been put up in terms of saying, well, actually, no, we're not going to play Tuesday at 3:30, but we should be able to play on a Thursday night, or at the very least, I don't know if you can flip a coin to see whether us or Rangers has to play on a Tuesday. I don't know, but it just seems to be Celtic. Things happen to Celtic, especially in Europe, and we just take it.
Yeah, it's the same in Scotland. We let this poor standard of refereeing, we let things go against us, and nobody stands up and says no. Nobody does anything about it. You just roll over and accept it. If it was my company and somebody's want to fine me for something, I don't see, why you can't say that. And I understand UEFA slightly, but you need to understand football's more than this. Football's about the people.
Yeah.
People missed work. People lost out on money to attend that game. People, missed schools or colleges, or they've got other commitments. And I think it's absolutely shocking having that game when it did. There could have been another arrangement. And then for UEFA to fine for that, I think it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But we'll take it. We'll roll on. They'll pay the fine and they'll just accept it. And that's what will happen.
Yeah, and I mean, Paul, me and you have all obviously spoke before about. I don't mean playing your strongest team, but trying to kind of trying to get a bit of confidence going week in, week out, getting results, no getting beat. No taking a down on a Thursday night and having to go to Pittodrie or Tannadice on the Sunday. Do you know what I mean? So it's for us, it's obviously not going out over there and being demoralised by a big defeat. But just looking at the if we don't make it through to the next round of Europa, I'm just looking at the teams that's in the Conference League. I mean, you've got obviously Tottenham and Roma, you've got AZ Alkmaar, Feyenoord, Copenhagen. There's Rennes. There's some big teams in that Conference League. For it being, I think we spoke at the start of the season. For it being such a laughed upon tournament at the start, a kind of Mickey Mouse League, it was getting called. There is some big teams in there that we can potentially face, and a couple of sold out Celtic Park events, possibly.
I think that, see, like these teams, you see with English teams of Europa League where they make a mockery almost with the teams they put out. But see, once they start to get to the later stages, they start putting their strong teams out, and it does matter to them. I think that this Conference League, once you get to the later stages, is kind of our level in the sense of your AZ Alkmaars, your Rennes, your Copenhagen's, teams that I think that we could possibly go and beat. Obviously, you want to avoid your Tottenhams and Romas and that. But I think I just want to say going have a go. Like, I know we spoke about it last time I was on. Actually, it might have been the Leverkusen game, the first leg, maybe can't remember. But we spoke about do we put out? Sorry, it was Ferencváros. Do we put out a strong team? For me, I just always go for it. I think that even if we lose by a couple of goals, I don't think it will impact us too much. And I just want to see us try and win games. I mean, yesterday when I don't get overly emotional, but other than anger at football. But see, when the camera went to Ange after the game yesterday, I felt quite emotional. I was like, I mean, we all love this guy, and he just seems to get it. He seems to get the fans. But I just go for it. I just want to see he's going to try and win games. I'm enjoying the way we're playing now, and I just want it to continue.
Yeah, and I think it was Ange that said during the week, he was talking about the fans and how welcoming everybody's been. And he says, nowhere in the world has he been where the people have been so receptive to him already. And he says, I've not even won anything yet. He says, I've not even done anything. He says, and that makes me want to push on and really deliver success to this club. He says that people have been inviting him to their houses. I can totally imagine that.
Yeah,
Like, that's the kind of guy that everybody wants to be his pal. And he's only been in Scottish football for 164 days or something, and yet he's already made as many finals as Steven Gerrard did in 3 years. And the fact that that his brand of football, it's just gung ho, and it's. I don't care how many goals we're going to concede. And obviously doesn't want to concede goals, and Joe Hart doesn't want to either. But, as long as we're winning week in, week out, and obviously now it's all about trying to eat into that lead in terms of after the European game. We need to start trying to eat away at that lead so that when we do play Rangers in January that we could possibly go top of the league. I mean, do you see it do you see us on a wee bit of momentum, PG? Do you think we're on a wee bit of a run now?
Definitely. I mean, that's us. We've hardly lost a game in months now. And see, even what we all say, like, we're gung ho and we'll score more than we conceding it. If you look at it, we're not losing a lot of goals now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we lost 2 against Dundee and 2 against Ferencváros recently. But the games that were pretty much finished, and you'd rather not lose them. But I just feel like we're a lot more assured at the back. And see, even for like us doing podcasts, obviously we have mine and then coming on this one, it's like I like that Ange is doing the Open Goal podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I think that shows he's a bit different, like, where he's happy to go and kind of have a bit of fun. And I genuinely don't think I've ever liked a manager this much. I love him, man. I think he's brilliant, even if he's only here for a couple of years. He understands. He seems to understand it, and he just seems like such a good guy. I think he's brilliant, to be honest.
Yeah, and Paul, just to kind of finish on on you, on Ange, where do you see us going under Ange this season? Do you think we can reclaim our treble? It's technically our treble. We've won it. Obviously, 4 years out the last 5.
Yeah, I think that first cup's a big one. I think if he gets that, he'll will really push on, and that comes just a few weeks before the January. Which, if we've got any business in January, I'd like to think we don't do it the usual Celtic way and wait to the end of the month and bring a couple of people in and panic buy. Or I'd like to think he's planned it and he knows who he wants, and hopefully we go and get it. But I think that first cup's vital. Between now and then is vital. We're in a good, consistent run just now. If I'm right, I might be a wee bit wrong. We might have the least goals conceded, the most scored in the league. So people from other teams, other clubs can say we're just scoring goals. Our defence is rubbish. Well, actually, we've got the best defence in the league. So they can't really say that. And I know Ange is very forefront and very, gung-ho, as you said, guys. But I think we can run a few wins between now and that cup final. That cup final will spur us on, I think. And, we can go and do the treble, definitely. But we need to keep the consistency, and that Old Firm in the 2nd of January is massive.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I say, we'll leave it there, guys. So, obviously, Paul's got a way to do his other podcast, PG and Dax, the Real Football Show. Download it on, I don't know where it's on. Is it on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast? Just download it. Great podcast, and the guys really know their stuff. And obviously, if you head over to 67 T's, Tim Malloy Apparel, just mention Celtic FC Appreciation. Check it on your YouTube. That's not new anymore, but obviously going to get some daily content up during the week, kind of thing. Obviously been busy with work, so it's a bit more difficult. And obviously, if you keep liking the page, sharing the page on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. So me and Paul will be back next week, try and get somebody on next week with us again. And we'll obviously be discussing the Leverkusen, hopefully a Leverkusen win, as well as the league game. So until next week, guys, hail, hail.